Good evening, everybody. It is Friday, the 17th of July, and you are with Michelle and myself just talking about some of the things that affect you this week and things that are going on around our continued action in respect of the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act. So first up, we have a very exciting event tomorrow afternoon. It's only going to be about 3 hours long, 12:30 till 3:30. It will be an online live event, will be online on Facebook in various places and also on YouTube. This event is to promote the crowdfunder that is with regards to the legal challenge. What's it called, Michelle, again, the wording on that?
Yeah, it's challenging the risk of reducing rights to family life. So it's about defending our rights as parents to be able to continue to be the people who make the decisions that are in the best interest of our child for education and not have the local authority be able to override our decision making on our own children.
There's a legal challenge being mounted in respect of this, and it needs a lot of money behind it. And so tomorrow we will be focusing on this and talking to different people about this challenge, why it's necessary, and also hearing from people who have been affected very badly by the current law and where their situation would be so much worse if this isn't challenged. So please, if you can, try and join us tomorrow. We will be on the Home Education channel on YouTube and also on the Home Education Alliance page, the Home Education Action Group, and Fix the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act. And you can dip in and out. You can keep us on while you're cooking or whatever you're doing. You can watch it later as well. This is going to be just something that we want to do to inspire you also in your fundraising efforts, give you some ideas on how you can support this fundraiser. So this is the crowdfunder that we're talking about, which is currently at 33,451. I would love tomorrow to get it up to at least 34,000, but we want to work towards getting it up to 40 really in the longer term. We've done really well so far, but there are many, many of us in the home educating community. And if each one of us gave a $5, we'd be well away. There'd be no issues at all, no worries about where the money is coming from to fund this. And it is very important to fund these kinds of things. They cost quite a bit of money, and we need the solicitor, who is Michael Charles, who most of you have heard of and know well, and we want to make sure he knows that he's got the full support of our community. I don't know if you've got anything more to say about that, Michelle.
I was going to say the other thing is, if there's a reason you're not donating at the moment because you've got a question that you want answered before you donate, because judicial reviews are complicated, scary, complex areas of law, it might be you've read it and you're like, I want to give money, but I'm not quite sure what I'm giving it for. If you put the question in the chat, we will do our best to answer it tomorrow. Because if there's a reason that you're not donating because there's a particular question you'd answered, there's probably other people who have also got that question, and we may be able to just give you that answer, which then just reassures you that the money is going towards this legal challenge, this judicial review.
And we hope to answer those questions anyway tomorrow. We will have the claimant actually present live at some point to speak a little bit about from her point of view and what has driven her to do this as well. So hopefully you will get the answers that you need. So do join us, and at the same time be promoting the crowdfunder wherever you can. Just keep going with it. Don't stop with it. Keep going. Keep asking people to share and to donate. So what do we have next? Yes, so this is these are the regulations, right, Michelle? Some of which are going to be commencing, and they've given dates when these are going to commence. Is that correct?
Yep. So the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act obviously got its royal assent in April this year. Now, getting royal assent doesn't mean you can start the bits. If in the main act it said they need something else to tell them when to start. So this is the document saying when certain parts of that act are in place. Some bits have already started. They tend to be the schools bits. There's some stuff in August as well, schools bits, lots of September stuff. So if you're interested in the schools bits, go and look at the regulations yourself to go through them. Obviously, we're focusing on the home education elements. And the bit that may impact us the most is 6 of this regulation, because we were expecting, because of the consultation with the information sharing, which just closed this week, that information sharing was coming into place in September. But we weren't expecting the consistent identifiers yet, because in other information we'd been told before, the information sharing was starting this September and the consistent identifiers were being identified later on. However, this regulation means that as of the 30th of September, that part of the Children's Wellbeing and School Act is in force, so it can start. Doesn't mean they'll necessarily do it on the 30th of September, but as of the 30th of September, those sections in the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Act, which is section 4, so you can go and look at the act to remind yourself, but it's the stuff about information sharing. It's about the child's data being able to be shared across multiple services for as low as promoting welfare. And there is no, they can't hide behind confidence, so they can sort of say, yeah, normally there'd be a common law duty of confidence, but it's children and it's promoting welfare, so it doesn't count now. So that's 30th of September is the date that now comes in, because we've now got the regulation for that. Luckily, there's nothing sneakily about the children not in school stuff yet. So that we are still waiting for a further consultation that we've been told is going to come out before that is. But just be aware, if you were thinking the information sharing and consistent identifiers, that was going to be a long way off. They can now, from the 30th of September, do something with that.
It is concerning to me that they've just had this consultation. It's just closed. They've still got to sort through all the responses, but they're already saying this is going to come into force on 30th September. So you wonder, how much the consultation actually matters. Is it just a box ticking exercise? And I know we do often feel that way. And I hope that with the children not in school consultation, that there will be some element at least of actually paying attention and listening to the concerns of people, because we are affected every day by these things. Next up is another consultation. That's because we've got nothing else to do at the moment, apparently.
And this one closes on the 18th of September. Interesting again, obviously thinks that parents won't be busy over the summer holidays. So let's put a really important consultation then. Now, anyone who filled in the Send Reforms consultation, you'll know that the big hole open to everyone was EOTAS seemed to be missed completely. And I know many of us highlighted that in triplicate, because EOTAS is an incredibly important provision. There are some children where school will not be appropriate for short time. There are some children where school will never be appropriate for them. They may have some immune system compromisations, which means they can't actually be in a setting with other children. EOTAS plays a really important part in the education infrastructure currently for particular children, normally the most complex ones. So this consultation is really important for everyone to fill out. And if you're home educating because you were forced into it, as opposed to electively chose it because maybe your child was at special school or at mainstream, and actually you felt EOTAS was the appropriate thing for your child, but you gave up on the battle with the local authority for EOTAS, then make sure you fill this in, because it needs to understand why EOTAS is chosen. Yes. The biggest worry with this consultation is it's almost like it appears as if the government hasn't got a clue what EOTAS is in the first place. There's talk about being linked to a school. Well, if the reason the child is unable to attend is linked to some school-based trauma, and the child then has to stay associated to the school which they can't access because of a trauma response, it doesn't then look at the well-being of the child as the primary element. It also talks about short-term arrangements, which for some children it is a short-term arrangement. But for some children, their medical needs means they're not going to get to the point where a school is going to be appropriate. And they don't seem to have grasped that this is a concept, that it's not a short-term solution. It needs to be a solution based around children's individual packages of needs and the provision they need to meet that. It seems to be sort of like tagging it on to the Send Reforms because they forgot, but it also doesn't give any reassurance that you will be able to challenge the EOTAS bits. There's no talk about it being parents making decisions. So the LA can end your EOTAS arrangement and you won't have a mechanism to get that back in place, because the tribunals will not, and they are very clear here, the tribunals will not be making decisions on the actual provision. And anyone who's got an EOTAS package will know normally the detail of the provision for EOTAS goes in section F. But the tribunals will, through the Send Reforms, the plan is that they'll only be able to make a decision on the last bit, the sort of section I, where the placement is. Whereas EOTAS tends to be a very bespoke, movable placement. So this consultation is really, really important to ensure the information is there and to try and get them to understand the purpose of EOTAS, and hopefully to start to U-turn and realise that they need to keep this provision and that they need to ensure that there is a mechanism such as tribunals for parents if EOTAS is the appropriate option for their child.
I'm just having a look at some of this and thinking they have all these so-called reforms that they're promising, but they haven't been tested yet either to see if it's actually going to be delivered in the way they're promising. I think a lot of people feel they've just glossed over and dismissed people's genuine concerns. It is very important that you go and take a look at this, and just remember that all of these links, you can also find them in the Substack, which we send out every Monday. You can subscribe and get these links and loads of other links as well, covering a wide range of topics that may affect us in some way. So you may find it interesting because Kat, who's hiding behind the scenes here, she does a great job of sniffing out these things that sometimes would just sneak in without us noticing. So if you want to get all that information, subscribe to our Substack, and the link is also in the comments. Is that everything then, Kat? Okay, so I think, we do know
my speculation is just hopefully we may hear there's a different education secretary, but at the moment I wouldn't be sure who I'd want to come in the role to replace.
So Michelle, you've got to bear in mind people couldn't hear Kat having a word in our ear. So with Andy Burnham coming in as the new PM, people ask, there is some speculation whether it will mean a new education secretary, and we don't have any inside information on that, unfortunately. But that's something that we need to keep an eye on and be aware of. It doesn't mean anything will change, just by the way. These things don't go away just because a different person is in the picture at the top of the pyramid. Everything will stay in place because the act has passed and all the wheels are in motion. But we might find that some things are reconsidered a little bit. If there was a different person, somebody with a different angle and a different axe to grind may do things differently. And a different school experience. Anyway, keep on with the commenting where you can on different posts. I did see Bridget Phillipson said the reason why she limits comments on her posts is because of the nasty things that people say and the foul language or whatever. I've never seen much foul language on there, to be fair. What I have seen is people calling out the sort of hypocrisy or double standards. And obviously, you don't want to hear that if you're in power. So I know people get very creative in finding a way to convey the message. But yeah, we're not expecting to see a change there necessarily. And even so, there's no guarantee it would change anything significantly. So we need to keep on with these consultations and responding and engaging with MPs and engaging with councillors. I do want to highlight again that Randall Hardy shared a really helpful toolkit, and we shared about it last week in the live, that you could ask your councillors, particularly the new ones, if they want to hold their local authorities to account or audit them on their elective home education teams and how they're performing. Randall had a great toolkit there that he developed with the help of others. And you can go and get that information. If you find our last week's live, it'll be in the comments there somewhere as well. And in last week's Substack, that Kat sends out ever so helpfully every Monday. So I think that's everything, but we do really, really, really want to have you join us tomorrow between 12:30 and 3:30 for our live broadcast. So we'd love to see you there. Have a good evening. I'm not going to say have a good week because I want to see you guys tomorrow on the live. Anything else from you, Michelle?
Just see you tomorrow to everyone.
Yeah, great. Anyway, take care, guys. Enjoy your evening. Bye.